What if the ultimate survival medicine cabinet wasn't a modern pharmacy or an expensive supplement store, but an ancient garden? Specifically, the fields and plants mapped out in the Bible. Here is the survival nutrition truth almost nobody talks about. Biblical plants aren't just religious symbols or pretty poetry. They are a precise biological map of medicine, and today's clinical science keeps proving time and time again that ancient people understood the exact pharmacology of these herbs with absolute brilliance. Today we are decoding 7 specific plants, pulled straight from the biblical map, using real science to explain exactly how they heal the human body. Stick around for all 7. Plant number 3 held such incredible healing power that it was buried with kings. And plant 6 flips a hidden switch inside your immune system that most folks don't even know exists. Even though you've felt it working your whole life, let's open up this ancient map together. Number 7 is mint, the plant taxed by the Pharisees. You probably just think of it as toothpaste flavoring, but there is a deep layer of body wisdom here. In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus calls out the Pharisees for obsessively collecting taxes on mint, dill, and cumin, while ignoring the actual spirit of the law. That isn't just a random story. The fact that mint was heavily taxed as a temple commodity proves it held massive economic and medical weight back then. You don't tax useless weeds. The biological reason for its value is actually incredibly specific. Mint's main active ingredient is menthol. And how menthol operates inside your system is amazing. It physically attaches to specific receptors lining your digestive tract, forcing those tight, painful muscles to completely let go. This isn't just some old folk tale, it's pure, proven pharmacology, dozens of modern clinical trials prove that peppermint oil calms irritable bowel syndrome far better than many modern antispasm drugs, and it does so without all the nasty chemical side effects. But here is the real hidden wisdom. Mint's menthol actively triggers cold-sensitive receptors right inside your breathing passages. That's exactly why it blasts open your airways and clears out severe congestion instantly. Those early healers burned mint leaves to clear up sick lungs thousands of years before we had microscopes to see the science. They just followed the health map. It is also a highly effective painkiller. Rubbed on the skin, it blocks localized aches by scrambling the exact nerve pathways that send pain signals to your brain. The ancients mapped this out perfectly, crushing fresh leaves right onto pounding heads, sore muscles, and swollen joints. Today's expensive muscle creams do the exact same thing. Another layer of ancient wisdom, mint naturally wipes out serious bacterial infections right inside your mouth. Chewing a fresh sprig after dinner wasn't just for good breath, it was a targeted biological strike against pathogens. Health and hygiene were completely woven together. They mapped out hot mint tea to fix digestion and mashed raw leaves against the skull to cure headaches. They breathed it in to clear the lungs. It is literally one of the most common, easy-to-find healing plants alive. The Pharisees were right to protect it. They just lost the biological plot. Plant number 6 is garlic, the raw survival medicine of Egypt and Israel. Garlic belongs at the center of the ancient health map. In Numbers chapter 11, the Israelites are trekking through the brutal wilderness, and they hit total physical despair. They beg for the foods they left behind, specifically crying out for garlic. Not bread, not beef. Grown people, finally free from bondage, were openly weeping for a bulb of garlic. When you and I look at how garlic arms the human immune system, those tears make total biological sense. Smash a raw clove, and an enzyme called alliinase crashes into a compound called alliin, instantly creating a powerful new survival molecule called allicin. This medical magic only activates when the plant's cells rupture. A whole bulb sitting on the counter does absolutely nothing. But crush it, and it wakes up. Allicin is frankly one of the most ruthless, broad-spectrum natural antibiotics modern science has ever found. It shreds bacterial walls, stops viruses from copying themselves, kills off dangerous fungus, and even destroys parasites. It doesn't just fight one bug in one way. It bombs multiple biological pathways at once, which is why infections can barely build a resistance against it. And here is a piece of wisdom hiding in plain sight. Modern human trials prove that folks taking pure garlic suffer way fewer colds and bounce back faster when they do catch something. But the map reveals far more than just infection control. Research proves it naturally drives down high blood pressure. Other data shows it strips out bad cholesterol and acts as a powerful blood thinner. Its talent for stopping deadly blood clots is legendary among modern heart doctors and cardiovascular researchers. The ancient Egyptians grew it everywhere, logging it into more than 20 distinct medical recipes found on surviving papyrus scrolls. They mapped out its power to heal infections, fix guts, and close wounds, so those Israelites eating it every day weren't just treating it as a tasty snack. They were keeping an active biological shield running, which vanished the second they lost that food. Now, the absolute key here is heat. Allicin is incredibly fragile. Fire destroys it fast. Raw, freshly smashed garlic is an entirely different grade of medicine than a bulb roasted for 20 minutes. Always let crushed garlic sit for 10 minutes before cooking. That gives the enzyme time to peak, making the healing compounds survive the heat better. But raw always wins. Hey, if you and I are on the same page and you love uncovering real ancient biology, hit subscribe. It really helps support this research. Plant number 5 is hyssop, the ancient purifying herb that got absolutely everything right. This tiny green plant shows up during the most intense, blood-soaked moments in the Bible, yet we completely ignore the biological reality of what it actually does. Hyssop acts as a core tool in the original Exodus 12 Passover. God tells the Israelites to grab a hyssop bundle, soak it in lamb's blood, and paint their doorways. When David writes his famous prayer in Psalm 51, he specifically asks God to purify him using hyssop. And in John 19, Jesus is offered a liquid-soaked sponge on a hyssop stalk while on the cross. In both accounts, this specific plant serves as the ultimate instrument of relief. Let us examine this together. These writers did not pick a random weed. They knew exactly how this plant worked. Hyssop packs volatile oils, mainly pinecamphone, which actively open the airways. It breaks down chest mucus so the body can easily expel it. Which is why the ancient Near East routinely treated coughs, bronchitis, and severe breathing issues with it. Long before modern pharmacology, ancient healers noticed something vital. Chest infection patients recovered much faster and breathed easier when given specific hyssop preparations. Their medical instinct was correct, but this makes the biblical purification symbolism clinically fascinating. Hyssop also holds real antimicrobial and antifungal power. Research confirms it actively fights several harsh bacterial strains and mold species. Ancient Mosaic law instructed priests to use hyssop to ceremonially cleanse people exposed to disease. They were actually using a plant with literal, measurable sanitizing properties. The religious ritual was literal hygiene. They were never separate things. Rosmarinic acid, found heavily in hyssop, acts as a potent anti-inflammatory polyphenol. Science shows it actively reduces dangerous oxidative stress right at the cellular level. While present in rosemary and sage, hyssop holds significant doses. Ancients steeped it into medicinal teas to clear respiratory infections, severe coughs, and congestion. They inhaled hot hyssop steam straight into the lungs. They also applied it as a medical compress to calm severe skin inflammation. Modern society completely forgot this plant exists, yet the ancient world purposefully built it directly into the most critical health rituals of their entire civilization. That was purely intentional. Number 4 is coriander. This manna comparison changes absolutely everything. Let us look closely here, because the detail everyone skips holds the secret. In Exodus 16, God provides manna in the wilderness. The survival text literally describes it looking like coriander seed. Then in Numbers 11, right where they mourned losing garlic and mint, the hungry people describe the manna again. Their reference is always coriander seed. White, small, round. The ancient Israelites had a botanical reference point deeply burned into their visual memory. When they needed to describe an unknown, miraculous food, coriander was the very first image their ancient minds reached for. This was no background herb. It was a daily nutritional anchor. And the clinical science explaining why this plant dominated ancient survival is genuinely impressive. Every single part of the coriander plant holds distinct, documented medicinal properties. The seeds and the fresh leaves, which most people today call cilantro, hold unique phytochemical profiles and trigger different healing mechanisms. Coriander seed has served for centuries as a digestive aid, and clinical research perfectly confirms the mechanism. Seed essential oils reduce intestinal spasms and trigger digestive enzyme secretion, easing gas by speeding up gastric motility. Studies prove it highly effective against stomach pain and nausea. This explains why it anchors ancient Ayurvedic, Egyptian, and Middle Eastern medical texts simultaneously. Separate empires, zero coordination, same medical conclusion, but here is the fascinating part. Coriander holds documented anxiolytic properties, meaning it actively lowers anxiety through measurable neurological pathways. Trials show coriander extract directly alters GABA receptor activity inside the brain. Modern anti-anxiety pills target this same receptor family. The effect is so significant that several research teams are pursuing it for natural anxiety treatment. These seeds also pack linalool, a terpene compound holding confirmed antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory power. Plus, research on blood sugar regulation reveals that coriander seed extract helps stimulate insulin secretion, supporting healthier post-meal glucose levels in diabetic subjects. Traditionally, ancients ground these healing seeds into daily breads, hearty stews, and meat dishes, exactly as practiced in ancient Israel. They used fresh leaves as a finishing herb to boost flavor and gut health. They drank coriander seed tea after meals to stop digestive pain. Today, this remains one of the most globally stocked medicinal herbs on earth. Consume it knowing its true power. Number 3. Frankincense, the biblical gift that doubled as a medical prescription. Everyone knows frankincense from the Nativity story. 3 wise men, expensive gifts, end of story. But here is the hidden truth. Frankincense resin was never just a royal luxury or a symbolic prop. It was literally the most sophisticated anti-inflammatory medicine the ancient world possessed, and the core reason it arrived as a gift for a newborn king alongside gold is simple. In that brutal era, its life-saving medicinal value genuinely rivaled precious metals. Frankincense bleeds from the resin of Boswellia trees. Its medical application is heavily documented across ancient Egyptian, ancient Hebrew, and broader Near Eastern medical texts. Priests burned the smoke in temple rituals not just for sacred symbolism, but because inhaling the active compounds within that smoke triggered measurable biological effects on everyone inside. The temple priests knew this. They were not guessing. The primary active compounds inside frankincense are boswellic acids. Modern pharmacology has finally identified the exact biological mechanism making them so powerful. Boswellic acids directly block an enzyme called 5-lipoxygenase, which acts as a primary driver of the human inflammatory cascade. Modern anti-inflammatory pills usually work by blocking COX enzymes. Ibuprofen does exactly this, but boswellic acids target a completely parallel biological pathway that most pharmaceuticals completely miss, which makes ancient frankincense complementary to, rather than redundant with, standard modern anti-inflammatory medicine. Clinical. So what do you and I learn here? Trials prove this ancient extract significantly improves joint mobility in osteoarthritis, while drastically reducing symptoms of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Even for inflammatory bowel issues where modern medicine hits a wall. Brain. Science is tracing frankincense to brain protection, finding these ancient resins block the exact inflammatory pathways driving neurological decay. Let's look at a detail most people miss. You and I are seeing researchers discover that burning frankincense releases a compound called insensol acetate, which labs confirm acts as a natural anxiety reducer and a mild antidepressant. It physically rewires brain channels to lift mood. So when the ancients burned frankincense in temples, they were reading a physiological map, physically engineering a space to chemically calm the human nervous system. The scripture shows us a biological blueprint. Burning this resin directly targeted respiratory and brain health. They melted the resin into oil, rubbing it on the skin to crush joint inflammation. Today we take it as boswellia to fight chronic swelling. The wise men didn't just bring a symbolic gift, they brought a highly advanced survival medicine. Modern lab tests are just proving that ancient health map. Next is cumin, the sacred seed. When Matthew chapter 23 mentions it, Jesus calls out cumin, mint, and dill as plants the Pharisees literally taxed. 3 simple garden herbs, treated as physical currency for the temple. Turns out, every single one of those plants holds serious, clinically verified biological power. Today, cumin gets totally overlooked in health circles. We treat it like just another cheap spice, something you throw into a taco mix. But in the biblical health system, this seed was pure medicine first, flavor second. And understanding why these ancient cultures valued it so highly reveals a massive piece of the puzzle. Biologically, cumin is a powerhouse for human digestion. It forces the gallbladder to release bile, which your body absolutely needs to break down heavy dietary fats. It triggers your pancreas to pump out digestive enzymes, stopping food from rotting in your gut and causing painful gas and bloating. Every old medical map, from ancient Egypt to Ayurveda, pointed to cumin as a vital gut healer. They mapped its effects without modern labs, relying strictly on generations of raw, patient human observation. Cumin is also loaded with iron, beating out most normal foods, and the ancients prescribed it to fight crushing fatigue and anemia, especially after childbirth. Middle Eastern midwives always baked it into postpartum recovery meals. They knew the biological results firsthand. They were naturally triggering iron restoration. Now, you and I really need to look at this next detail. A 2014 trial showed people taking plain cumin lost way more body weight and burned through fat much faster than the control group. The secret is how cumin totally reshapes insulin response. The ancient health texts mapped it for gut support. Modern science confirms it alters how we store fuel. The biblical survival method: dry roast the seeds, toss them into daily breads and heavy stews. Or steep the ground seeds as medicine for stomach pain. They mixed it with coriander to create a powerful post-meal digestive remedy. The religious leaders taxed it because they knew its biological worth. We need to respect it too. Now, the desert healer, aloe in John's Gospel. There's a biological clue hidden in one of the most intense biblical scenes, and almost everyone misses it. In the 19th chapter of John. Right after the crucifixion, Nicodemus shows up to prepare the body. The text gets very specific about his supplies, listing myrrh and aloe, about 100 pounds of it. This isn't just trivia. 100 pounds is massive. It cost an absolute fortune. And the raw aloe plant, not just a sweet smell, was chosen for this critical task. Today, aloe vera is an incredibly studied natural medicine. The gel inside those thick leaves holds over 200 active compounds, vitamins, core minerals, enzymes, and proteins, plus a complex sugar called asamonin that scientists are intensely studying for immune support. Let's look at the skin map first, since that's deeply documented. Modern trials prove raw aloe directly speeds up how fast wounds close. It slashes recovery time for bad burns, surgical cuts, and stubborn skin sores. Biologically, it attacks the problem from all sides, pushing collagen production, forcing fresh blood to the injury, and cooling down the aggressive inflammation that actually destroys healthy tissue over time. But this next part shocks anyone who just sees aloe as sunburn lotion. Swallowing aloe vera, the clear inner gel, absolutely not the irritating outer latex, which is harsh and demands caution, has proven clinical effects. It actively stabilizes blood sugar, repairs your gut wall, and tunes up the human immune system. Using aloe for burial wasn't just some nice religious symbol. The plant's deep antimicrobial and tissue preserving power made it a highly practical biological tool. Across Africa, the vast Middle East, and ancient Asia, entirely disconnected cultures were mapping aloe's healing effects on broken skin and severe inflammation for thousands of years. They all found the exact same medicinal answer because the biological results were undeniable. The plant also packs anthraquinones, proven antiviral compounds, along with rich polyphenols that act as heavy-duty antioxidants in the body, mixing that outer wound repair with serious inner immune defense makes this one of the sharpest survival tools in the biblical text. The ancient method. Crack open the raw leaf and slap the fresh gel straight onto severe burns, open wounds, and angry skin. Or eat the inner gel in tiny doses to fix gut health, manage blood sugar, and fortify immunity. For 2 millennia across countless empires, it was the go-to medicine for human survival. You and I are looking at 7 ancient plants, carrying thousands of years of biological truth. And modern clinical research keeps reaching the exact same conclusion. The biblical health map was dead on. What you and I should find truly striking is that unlocking this layer of survival nutrition didn't take a modern lab. Mint soothes your digestion. Garlic wipes out pathogens with allicin. Frankincense shuts down deep body inflammation. Aloe speeds up tissue repair. Every piece of this ancient medical blueprint was decoded by people without fancy biochemistry degrees, electron microscopes, or random clinical trials. They used something better. They mapped the body through careful generations of tracking how these specific herbs fueled human survival, and what failed. Then, they hid these biological blueprints right inside their daily religious rituals. Trade routes, temple offerings, and even burial habits encoded this survival nutrition. This physical healing wisdom was so critical, they wove it into the very fabric of their civilization. Modern science didn't invent these healing codes, it just finally read them. Even with today's advanced tech, we just keep tracing the exact same ancient health map those early practitioners drew from raw experience. Let's talk below. Which biblical survival plant shocked you the most? Was it coriander acting as a natural anxiety remedy? Or how burning frankincense literally altered the brain chemistry inside those ancient worship tents? Or Nicodemus hauling 100 pounds of healing aloe to history's biggest moment? If you and I are going to decode more ancient medicine, hit subscribe right now. Tap that bell too. I post fresh biblical nutrition breakdowns every single day, and our map reading is just getting started. Catch you in the next video.